Hello, this is Reverend Marilyn Morgan coming back with part two of the Fall Equinox 9/22/2012. The point of this is to give you as much information as I can in these short YouTube videos. And the next one I'll make later before the final ascension point. And the ascension is this, it's not that we're going up to heaven and be like the ascended masters, but we're all to be ascend to be masters on earth. So the ascension is to live in our higher self and to have a lighter astral and physical body. A lot of people will find it's easier to lose weight. I know I have already. I've lost a lot of weight and I've struggled with it astrologically with my progressed Taurus rising and being in Aries where we gain weight in midlife because I had a huge appetite and my metabolism slowed down and I'm not as athletic as I used to be. So for all you Aries and people who know Aries, look at Marlon Brando too. That was an extreme case of obesity with what happens to a lot of Aries in midlife. We're fine up until then, and then we gain weight. And then it's a struggle because we can eat anything and burn it off is what it is. Then the real work begins along with the rest of you that have had a weight problem. But up until then, I didn't have one. But with my chart, you'll read about Taurus rising or physical Taurus and Taurus sun. The joke is they can't lose weight. That's a joke because you can, but your body says, I have a body. It wants to hold on. And it's good if we lived in the old days and being a type O and my slower metabolism was that my body would stay here and I would burn calories at a slower rate and last longer on less food and get the job done and stay alive. So if I was a pilgrim, I'd be rocking it, but not living in South Lyon, Michigan right now and with abundance of food and having plenty of money and plenty of food as far as food. And I'm not talking about I personally right now am extremely wealthy. The ministry fund is somewhere that I can't get to. There's a problem with it. So I want to let you know if you've heard things about me or think that, oh, look at her. If that was the case, I would have a fancy car and live in a big fine house and not living in my mother's spare room so we can combine our incomes and help me with my mom because she's 87 and the situation and my son, the youngest, lives downstairs and to live together as a family group and that sort of thing to be economical and to be close to family, which I like to do. We certainly wouldn't live in a small condominium. We'd probably have a bigger home at this point, and it would be down by a lake because I have a thing about being near water. But that isn't the point. And I'd have that travel trailer that I've always wanted, and I'd be traveling right now and going around visiting y'all. That's what money can do and buy different projects, different things. But money isn't as important as integrity, and money is not everything. So sometimes when God doesn't let us get to our money, there's things that we need to do. By not being wealthy, I'm here with everyone else. I'm not living in some gated community and with bodyguards because I'm, as wealthy and well known as somebody like Elvis or something. And I am well known, whether somebody listened to this realizes it or not. I'm writing the book, Holy Ghost Writer. Those of you who truly know who I am and what I do, you know that I'm pretty well known, and the claims are true on my website. And that's only the tip of the iceberg, what I need to claim to and explain. But one of the things is that this mission, I started with a few other people, and it's blossomed about the Mayan, and not conspiracy, the Mayan prophecies as to what's going to happen in 2012. I've been on this since then, and I was young back then. I'm 58 now. So in the 80s, I would have been in my early 30s, and early, and the energy would have been different, but I've been working for a lot of years on this, the projects with people, to figure out what it is that is in the stars and what God has to tell us. First of all, number one, that's about me, and God bless my family, but let's get to the equinox, what you need to be doing at this point. Number one, you need to discipline yourself, period, in your life. I would never have done the things I did and gotten where I was going if I didn't discipline my desires. I am only human. Just like anybody else, I have the 7 sins that crop up. Now, I've never been slave to them, but they still come up to haunt me. And because of that, the negative energies on Earth and the lessons and Saturn wants to keep me in a constant reminder of, hey, and I go, okay, I have a dark side too, but you embrace it and let it go. The glimpse of thought is just a few seconds with me. I don't entertain it, but I don't say I'm better or above it or beyond it. I've just been removing myself on it for lifetimes, and I don't buy into it. So, the greed and the jealousies and the vices I don't have. I've felt jealous and didn't understand it, and it was because people have tried to make me feel that to get a rise out of me, and it's usually someone in the opposite sex in a relationship, and sometimes maybe they don't feel I'm responding enough, or do I love them, and they're trying to prove a point, or they're just downright Flanders and ignorant, and it's hard not to if somebody's cheating on you right and left in a relationship and you love them at that point, and you don't understand what's wrong with you, and it's their problem. Just to let you know about that, it's their mental illness. It's not an inadequacy in somebody. If somebody's like that and they're philander and they're just ridiculously promiscuous, they're not going to be faithful even to the perfect person for them, their soulmate. And I don't mean perfect person in this world, but the person that God sent for them. And this can create a problem. But, we all have the true emotions. But when you feel anger or when you feel fear, you need to let it go, embrace it, and you need to gain courage, because courage is not the lack of fear, but the movement of doing something about it also. And let me talk about what happens going into Libra, because that is the lack of decision. And one of the things you need to honor, I talked about the Virgo side of it, we're going into the Libra essence. And the Libra is the balance, and that is what this equinox is about. It balances the two essences of the summer and going into the fall, and balances the old and the new, and you need to release the old. And one of the things for your ceremony that I have in my memory is you have an altar, which I do. I've had one for years, and I alternate it, and I've moved, and it's been in different places. And I usually have more than one for different reasons. But I like to have at least one with my favorite stones, angels on it, and I have a pyramid on mine. The altar I have now actually has my father's ashes and his the false marble that he was saying, the holder that we put him in, my grandmother's, my 2 cats. But I have my crystals, my favorite one, the one that I use for ceremony, and different things that are important to me. So, not to bore you with all the details of what I have on my altar, but you can do the same. Number 1, Buddha, Kuan Yin statue, Jesus statue. I also have statues of, I have one of Jesus and one of a Blessed Mother. Okay, and those of you can go on my website and go into my relationship with Jesus as the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. A lot of people have claimed to be Jesus and Mary Magdalene, but Jesus is in the ethereal, and Jesus being the same soul and a split soul as myself is in living up in the higher self of being where we all are, and we are our cosmic consciousness. So when you go, what would Jesus do? Go into your higher self. What would your higher self do? So if you're living in your higher self, number two, if you're going into your higher self and living there and staying there or there as long as you can, or contacting there, you will be living in a higher realm, and you need to be one with your higher self. This is a transformation. It's almost like who you are in heaven, which is perfection, utter to us here on earth, just beautiful. So those are the two things. So those are a couple of explanations. Let me continue with the altar, and then I'll go into part 3. And the altar is that for ceremony, you bring out the incense anyways for any ceremony. You can do that and or sage the room and have the sage burning. Bring up the sage or the incense. Breathe it in, at least 3 deep breaths. You breathe in through your nose. Let it out through your mouth, okay? At least 3 deep breaths. On the third, let it out. The breath of the lion, okay? You also say mantras, and you can say to calm yourself anytime, but for ceremony, I am the divine light and love, peace and tranquility. These are because you become that you actually are, and your possibility inside. That's what I say. There is an example. I actually use that. That's what I do, and that's what I say. You can use other ones. So you also go in, and you would have, for balancing, you would have something extroverted, and for that mercurial, and that would be a book would be on one side, and on that you read in quiet. The other side would be something, a letter that you wrote, and something you do in private and quiet you would read. And the other would be a letter that you received from someone or have written to somebody, because that is reaching out to someone, and that is more extroverted. That's social. So one is introverted and going within and being quiet, and I just saw somebody standing there and in a robe, and I'll explain. They're Asian, they're tall, they're male, and it would be a deity that would be there, and he has a Fu Manchu, so he's standing there, and we'll have to figure out who that is. So why don't you check out who that is? And contact me at revmarilynmorgan.com. If you have any comments or concerns or prayer requests or anything else, get in touch with me. If you'd like a consultation, get in touch with me. If you just need some prayers, I'm not going to charge you for just returning information to you and emailing you. And send me your email and let me know so I can send back information to you. But I'm not going to get into selling myself right now. This is about the real deal and enlightenment. So part 3 is next. Thank you, and have a heavenly day. Namaste.